Hey Casabangs crew, welcome to our second video in Unit 3. Here's Bella saying hello.
Okay, bye-bye now.
So today we are going to learn about operant conditioning. If I can get right, there we go. All right, so operant conditioning. This is a type of learning where behavior is strengthened if it's followed by reinforcement. I think reward, okay, or diminished if it's followed by punishment. So operant conditioning, it was originally based off of this law of effect. So this was developed by E.L. Thorndike. And this was the principle that behaviors that were followed by favorable consequences became more likely, and behaviors followed by unfavorable consequences became less likely. So think of an occasion where this has been true for you. And I think I put that on your video notes. So write it down. Think of an occasion where that law of effect has been true for you. Behavior followed by favorable consequences became more likely, like you did it more often. And behaviors that were followed by unfavorable consequences became less likely. You stopped doing them or you did them less often. So operant conditioning was talked about, experimented by B.F. Skinner. Like I said, he elaborated on Thorndike's law of effect and developed a behavioral technology to test this law of effect. And that technology is called the Skinner box, okay, named after himself. In this picture here, and mind you, this picture is pretty old. I mean, look at this computer. Wow, like, I don't know, 70s, 80s maybe? Anyway, he made the Skinner box, which was just a clear chamber. You see it here, okay? And there's a little rat inside. So the chamber had a bar or a key that the animal could press on to obtain like a food pellet or water. So the food or the water became the reward, okay? And he recorded the responses by the rat. And the more often they pressed the lever, the more food they got. So eventually they learned that if they pressed the lever, they got the reward. So then they would press the lever more often. So operant conditioning, one of the major concepts in operant conditioning is the reinforcer. So reinforcer is any event, anything that strengthens the behavior it follows, okay? Reinforcer strengthens the behavior. You need to put those two things together. You need to remember those two things. Okay, reinforcement happens after the behavior occurs. So I have a couple of things on the screen that could be reinforcers, okay? Money, candy, praise or hand clapping, star stickers, okay? Those kind of things are all types of reinforcers. Okay, so we can use reinforcers to guide our behavior toward closer approximations of a desired goal, and that's called shaping. So we are literally shaping behavior. Like think of a ball of clay and we want to make it into something. So we're shaping little by little by little, we're shaping that behavior. We will do a demonstration of this in class, so you'll be able to see it. But it could be things like in school. If you are quiet, if you have a student that is super talkative and is always like shouting out in class, so maybe you give that person a star for every 5 minutes that they're quiet, and then when they get 10 stars, we'll start, okay, so we want them to be quiet for the entire day. So at first we'll give them a star for every like 5 minutes that they're quiet, and then we'll make it every half an hour that they're quiet. And then we'll give them a star when it's every 2 hours that they're quiet. So like each successive step until they reach that final goal. All right, so we have a couple of different types of reinforcements. Okay, we have positive reinforcers. So positive is anything that strengthens a response by presenting a stimulus after the response. So I always say positive, think of numbers. We're adding something in. Okay, think of that addition sign, the plus sign. We're adding something in. And then we have negative reinforcers. So we're still strengthening a response, but this time we are strengthening the response by reducing or removing an aversive stimulus. So again, the negative sign, subtraction. We are subtracting something from the situation. So for example, the aversive stimulus could be a mess. So you're going to clean up in order to get rid of the mess. So we're still strengthening a behavior, cleaning, okay? But the reinforcement is getting rid of the aversive stimulus, which is the mess. Or my picture here, I have a picture of aspirin. So we're going to take aspirin to get rid of our headache. Okay, so the behavior that we are strengthening is taking the aspirin, because taking the aspirin is removing an aversive stimulus, our headache. Okay. All right, so we have different types of reinforcers again as well. So we have primary reinforcers. These are things that are inherently reinforcing because we need them. Things like food and water, right? We need to have them. Rest, love, right? Those are primary reinforcers. So things that are in and of themselves rewarding. So food, water, warmth, affection. And then we have secondary or conditioned reinforcers. So again, that word conditioned. These are reinforcers that we have learned to want, okay? Conditioned reinforcers. We have learned that they are reinforcers. So things we've learned to value. So money is a perfect example. Most material things that we want, that we work toward achieving. So the coolest car, the best clothes, bling. I put a little ring over here. Okay, those are all secondary reinforcers. All right, this concept of token economy goes with our operant conditioning. So token economy, every time a desired behavior is performed, a token is given. Okay, so the token could be a star, could be a sticker, okay, anything like that. They can trade tokens in for a variety of prizes. Those are the reinforcers. Okay. Think of a time that this has happened to you and write it down in your notes, because I'm sure 99% of you have experienced this at one point or another. So it's used in homes, prisons, mental institutions, and in schools. That's why I think most of you have experienced this token economy. All right, now, we talked about reinforcers. Now let's talk about punishment. So punishment is meant to decrease a behavior. So reinforcers increase a behavior or strengthen it, but punishment decreases a behavior. We don't want to see that behavior anymore. So we're punishing you to get rid of that behavior. So just like with reinforcers, we have positive punishment and we have negative punishment. So positive punishment is, again, adding something into the situation. Okay, so the addition of something unpleasant, like a spanking. Negative punishment is removing something that is pleasant, that is important to you. So the removal of something pleasant. So, for example, I'm going to take away your phone, or I'm going to take away the car, or I'm going to take away your ability to go out with your friends. So punishment works best when it is immediately done after the behavior, right? It has to be immediate. Okay, some ways to make punishment more effective. Okay, punishment is one of those big topics, not only in psychology, but in like parenting and all of those type of things. School, prisons, those sort of social institutions. So like I said, punishment should immediately follow the behavior it's meant to punish. Punishment needs to be consistent, okay? It has to happen every time you see the behavior. And punishment of the wrong behavior should be paired with reinforcement of the right behavior. So we don't always want to be negative, 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 punish, punish, punish. We also need to reinforce when we are seeing the behavior that we do want to see. Like I said, it's a huge hot button issue. So there are lots of problems with punishment. So models aggression as a way to solve problems, particularly if you're using like physical punishments like spanking in our cartoon here. Breeds anger, anxiety, and fear. Does not provide an alternative behavior. So they're not learning what they should be doing. They're just learning what they shouldn't be doing. Might encourage lying to avoid the punishment. And behavior only goes away when the punishment is around. Okay, remember that spontaneous recovery from classical conditioning. Okay, it can come back. All right, so this chart, and I think that I reproduced this in your video notes. This chart gives you the 4 ways to modify behavior. So across the top, we have reinforcement and punishment. And we have positive by adding things in, and we have negative by removing or avoiding. So positive reinforcement, okay, something valued or desirable. So for example, getting a gold star for good behavior in school. Okay. Negative reinforcement, we are removing something unpleasant. So avoiding a ticket by stopping at a red light. Okay. The behavior we want to increase is stopping at the red light. Okay. So we're going to do that by removing the possibility of getting a ticket because we did stop at the red light. All right, punishment. Okay, punishment, we want to decrease a behavior. Okay, so again, adding something unpleasant into the situation. It's called punishment by application. So getting a spanking for disobeying. Okay, negative punishment. Okay, again, we're taking away something that is valued or that is desirable. Okay, punishment by removal is what that's called. So losing a privilege such as going out with your friends. Okay, so you are going to see, and we will practice this in class, but you're going to see on your test and on your exam where you're going to see a scenario and it's going to say, what type of operant behavior is this? So you need to be able to figure out, is it reinforcement, is it punishment, is it positive, or is it negative? So again, just like with classical conditioning, I have questions for you to use to help you figure this out. So our first question, are we trying to strengthen the behavior or are we trying to decrease the behavior? If we're strengthening, it's always reinforcement. If we're decreasing the behavior, it is always punishment. Okay, again, we're 50% of the way there. Second question, are we adding something into the situation or are we taking something away from the situation? So again, if we are adding, think our little addition symbol, then it is positive. And if we are taking something away, we're looking at our little negative symbol and it's negative. Okay. All right, we are going to practice this in class tomorrow. There are a couple sets of confusing pairs here and a few things that you're absolutely going to see on the exam and on your test because they are so often, so easily confused by students. Okay, one of those is a negative reinforcement and punishment. Right, so we will practice and we will talk more about this in class. Make sure you come with your questions. I'll see you later. Bye.